Something we all enjoy talking about, church website design trends. Now, before we talk about the specific trend I want to highlight in this video, let's consider the overall objective, because it's the values we hold that inform the decisions we make. And so when it comes to a church's online presence, my recommendation for you would be that you want your online presence to reflect your in-person reality. All right, now here's one way that we can think about this. There are 168 hours in every single week. If your church service is roughly 1 hour, how is your church's mission being fulfilled in the other 167 hours? This is not to downplay the importance of our in-person services, of course, but rather to shine a spotlight on the immense opportunity that the world of digital affords our ministries in the 167 hours beyond every Sunday service. And what I want to talk about today is something that we deeply value in our churches, but it's quite rare that you'll see that value reflected online. In fact, I'd go as far to say that this value is neglected in our online efforts, and that is spiritual practice. And it's actually a bit curious that spiritual practice has been neglected in our online ministries, because not only is spiritual practice core to the life of every Christian, but there are many spiritual practices that can be observed individually and together when physical proximity is not possible, meaning they are the perfect fit for what we do online. And there's biblical precedent for this as well. Think of Paul and his epistles. Paul's writing to churches physically distant from himself, and what spiritual practice does he repeatedly mention in his epistles? Prayer. To the Corinthians, I give thanks to my God always for you. To the Ephesians, I do not cease to give thanks for you, remembering you in my prayers. To the Philippians, I thank God in all my remembrance of you, always in every prayer of mine. To the Colossians, we always thank God, the Father of our Lord Jesus Christ, when we pray for you. I could go on. This is how Paul often started his epistles. And when I see this, I think to myself, okay, this is a model of spiritual practice that has existed from the earliest days of our faith. When it was in its infancy, when physical proximity wasn't possible, people were praying for each other. And they were writing, letting people know how they were praying for them and what they needed prayer for as well. And that's really the spiritual practice that I want to focus on today, and the important church website design trend that I want to dive into, prayer. Now, prayer admittedly is a bit abstract on its own when we talk about it in this way. So how does that translate to our websites? Well, what I'm about to show you is free. It doesn't require any coding skills. It will work on every church website. It is completely secure and private, and it's something that I think every church website can benefit from. This is Nucleus Prayer, another free app from our team at Nucleus. No strings attached, no credit card required. You just need a free Nucleus login to use this, and you can get your account at nucleus.church/free. In a previous video, we talked about the launcher from Nucleus, another free forever product of ours, which is really the foundational free tool from Nucleus. It embodies our value of seeing more next steps in your church. And if you haven't seen that video already, it's linked on this video. It's also in the description. And the reason that we create these free tools is to give back to churches, but even more importantly, it's one thing for me to teach you how to navigate the world of digital on our YouTube channel in these videos. It's another for us to actually create the tools needed to shape the trajectory of how churches can embrace digital in meaningful ways using online tools in the years and decades to come. And so removing barriers to this kind of thing, particularly spiritual practice, is really important to me. So let me reiterate, Nucleus Prayer is free for every church. It will work on any church website, and you don't need any tech or coding skills to start using it. It's free forever, no strings attached. We'll talk about the specifics now. The launcher and Nucleus Prayer, the two free products from us at Nucleus, are meant to work together. So once the launcher is installed on your site, every next step in your church will be accessible there. And like every next step in your church, Nucleus Prayer lives right inside your launcher. The difference with this prayer next step is that when it's clicked, it activates an entire prayer app all to itself, and we call this the Prayer Hub. And the Prayer Hub is made up of three key pieces. The Prayer Flow, which is a really easy way for anyone to share a prayer request. The Prayer Wall, where your congregation accesses and views your church's prayer requests. And then Prayer Time, which is a special view we created that helps you spend time in prayer in a distraction-free kind of environment. Each of these areas are available in the Prayer Hub, and they're identified using friendly, recognizable prompts, as you can see, so everyone can easily get around and join your church in prayer without a bunch of explanation. And in all of this, what I hope you'll notice right away is the amount of effort that we put into designing a beautiful, elegant experience for your church in Nucleus Prayer. It really could not be easier to start using this on your church's website and get your congregation involved. And this look and feel of Nucleus Prayer and how easy it is to use was really important to get right, because clunky design and difficult displays of information make things harder to use, and when things are harder to use, they are less likely to be adopted by your church. And unfortunately, to date, some of the best tools that we've had out there for prayer on our church websites look like this. And this is not meant as disrespect to the original creators of this tool. In fact, I'm really grateful they saw the value in facilitating prayer online, but this design and their approach is today outdated. It's not super responsive for different screen sizes. There's no margin on the edges. It's paginated with pages 1 through 5 instead of just allowing folks to tap and scroll. This is not current web design, even from 5 years ago, let's say. But the thing is, none of the bigger church tech platforms have really been especially interested in building tools for spiritual practice, especially when it comes to prayer. And that's because they're mostly still dedicated to getting people to attend or facilitate in-person events or handling giving. Those are important, but there's so much more that can be done as well. So much opportunity to explore in supporting and prioritizing spiritual practice. And this is what I mean when I say that this kind of thing has been neglected online. Now, back to the previous example, perhaps the most troublesome part of this prayer page, as I mentioned, is the outdated approach. And one of those outdated approaches is that this is available publicly online. I found this just doing a simple Google search. And there are endless examples of these that can be found with just a couple of keywords. In this example, what we did was we purposefully are not showing URLs, and we've blurred out names to protect people's privacy as best we can, because what's crazy is that what we have here are real first and last names from real people, real churches with a physical address. And with this public tool, churches are spilling the most vulnerable, sacred, and personal parts of their congregation's lives onto the internet, like the medical conditions of their children, marriage troubles. It's almost effortless for any person with a web browser to find these things, see who shared them, and then actually locate and discover more about these people online and in the real world. Imagine what could happen if this process was further automated with even some basic data mining and mapping tools. The kind of discovery and damage that could happen. Now, you might think this sounds a bit far-fetched, a bit scary. And look, it's a tough spot we're in, because the thing is, our prayers should be vulnerable and honest and raw, right? It's one of the most sacred and private things that we can do. It's how we talk to God, but it's also something we do together as a spiritual practice in community with fellow believers, sharing those burdens with those closest to us. But, and this is the big caveat, that shared experience in prayer should not be available to every single person, corporation, or web scraping tool that wants to find our most personal thoughts, feelings, and life happenings. Because when that information is not protected, it gets indexed and aggregated by companies that already have way too much of our data. And again, might sound far-fetched, but consider this big report that came out earlier this year revealing that popular prayer apps out there have been mining people's sensitive prayer data to sell to other companies. It's not great, but this kind of thing happens all the time because most people simply aren't aware of it. And so when we began sketching out the idea of Nucleus Prayer, we had a couple of key motivators, those being make it elegant and super easy to use, but also make it private and protected by default. Okay, so hopefully that paints the picture of what we're trying to accomplish with Nucleus Prayer overall. But let's get into the details now. How does Nucleus Prayer actually look and function on your church's website? We showed a little bit of this at the beginning of the video, and if you remember, Nucleus Prayer is available right inside the free Next Steps launcher. So when you click and open the launcher on any page of your church's website, you'll see one of our actions I've got titled as Pray with Us. And a small side note here, I always like using active language in my launcher for next steps. So instead of just titling the action prayer, I'd recommend something like pray with us or I'd like prayer. It's also really easy to fire open the launcher, not just from your website, but directly to the Prayer Hub from a link or from a button, from social media, from email, from anywhere else that you need to direct people to this important next step. Now, when you click on the Pray with Us action, you'll find this screen that explains our church's philosophy behind prayer and why it matters to us. This is fully customizable, of course, and when you click the Get Started button, you're presented with a few choices: to start a prayer request for yourself, or to view the prayer wall or get notifications of new prayer requests that are shared, both of which require you to be signed in. So I'll first start a request myself here. I'll share some of my prayer needs and click Continue, enter my name, email, and then I'll be presented with a follow-up prompt. Would I like follow-up from the church, yes or no? And then I submit my prayer request to my church. Sharing prayer is super fast, easy, and available to everyone who visits your website, members, visitors, and everyone in between. Now, what happens if instead of starting a prayer request, I click on Visiting the Church Prayer Wall? Well, let's take a look at that now. I'll click Get Started again, head over to view the prayer wall. Oh, and here, you'll notice I'm prompted to sign in. And this is one of the key, all-important security and privacy measures that we take with Nucleus Prayer to ensure search giants cannot index or aggregate our sensitive prayer data. Again, you can always submit a prayer request without an account if you choose, no problem. But if you want to see the prayers of others in the church on the prayer wall, you'll need to first create an account and second, be granted access with your church. Both of these things, creating an account and requesting access, if you don't have it already, are really easy. You can see this here. Once I have an account, I can fill out a quick request. And this request part only happens with people brand new to your church and those that are not connected in any other way already. Then, once I'm signed in and have access, I can easily see the full prayer wall with all the different prayers those in my church have shared. This works really elegantly whether I'm on a computer or my iPad, especially looks great on phones. Everything's been optimized to be helpful and easy to control no matter what size screen I'm using. I can even enter that special prayer time focus mode to start a personal prayer session. That'll go full screen to minimize distractions as I page through and pray for those in my church family. And this full screen distraction-free mode is also great if you're having in-person prayer time as a small group, let's say. You can just mirror or AirPlay your device's screen to a TV, and now it's easy to spend time praying over each request together as a group. And if I want to get notified with an email anytime a new prayer request is shared to my church's prayer wall so I can pray in the moment, I can just tap subscribe to notifications and confirm that. Each notification email I get has a one-click unsubscribe link if I change my mind later. And anytime I'm in the Prayer Hub, I can always go back to this page here and unsubscribe with a single tap as well. So that's a quick look into what Nucleus Prayer is like for your people to use personally. Now let's take a quick look and explore the admin side and how you manage all of this. And again, don't worry, we've made it really easy. When you sign into your Nucleus dashboard as an admin, you'll see next steps, prayer, and maybe some other products. Make sure in the next steps area, you've added a prayer action to your launcher and installed the launcher on your website. Again, that's all covered in the other video I mentioned. In the prayer product itself, the first tab you'll land on is the inbox. Here you can see all prayers that have been shared with your church as a single list on the All tab, or grouped by how they were shared or whether they requested follow-up in these other tabs. You can also, of course, click into individual prayers. Here you can see their timestamps, see who shared them, and much more. The Prayer Hub tab is the other primary area where you'll manage things. Here you can customize things, including privacy controls, which sets who in your church gets access to the prayer flow by default, as well as review and approve individual access requests that come in. You can subscribe to notifications for these requests as well and have that passed on to other admins, and they can be alerted. You can take action on them right away when people do request access. You can even customize the thank you page people see after sharing a prayer request, customize the confirmation email they receive after sharing with a message of encouragement, and so much more. The Notifications tab gives you a quick overview of the kinds of notifications available to you from Nucleus Prayer that you can subscribe to as an admin, and links you right into the page where you can manage those. Access requests and being notified of new prayer requests are a couple of the most important and most often used ones. Everything else that you might need, like inviting other admins or managing their access, can be found under this Manage tab. But again, the primary areas that you'll be in most of the time as an admin are the inbox and Prayer Hub. So as you can see, there's a lot here in this free tool. Everything you've seen in this video is free forever for every church, and you can get your account at nucleus.church/free. And if any of this feels overwhelming, like that's perfectly normal. Anything that's new comes with a learning curve to some extent, which is why I wanted to dedicate an entire video to this free product. But I'll also mention that we have help guides, help videos, and real humans working at Nucleus to help with any questions that you have about getting this set up on your website and rolled out to your congregation. You can just click this button in your dashboard to see the help videos, the help center, or to get in touch with us directly. What we don't want is to just drop this in your lap and say, hey, good luck. We've been creating free help resources for churches for a decade now, and we want to make sure your church succeeds. So don't hesitate to get in touch. And thanks as always for your time, attention, and trust. We'll talk soon.